Zombie Reddit, today's story is...
My older sister humiliated me at her engagement party, but what nobody knew was that I was keeping a 10-week secret that would not only cancel the party, but also her wedding. I had no intention of causing a fuss at my sister's engagement party, but circumstances led me to do so. Let me explain the context of the relationship between my sister Betty and me, and the events of that night. I am 28 years old and Betty is 30. If I had to define our relationship in one word, it would be complicated. It is the kind of bond where we genuinely love each other, but there is constant competition for absolutely everything. Unlike Betty, who has always sought to meet other people's expectations, I was quite indifferent. We have had our arguments over the years, mostly over insignificant matters, but that fraternal rivalry has always persisted. A few months ago, I discovered that I was expecting a baby. It was something my husband and I had been looking for quite some time. I was at an early stage, just 10 weeks, so we decided to keep it private temporarily. My first trimester was difficult. Between the morning sickness and unexpected weight gain, my physical well-being was not at its best. To avoid questions, I started wearing looser clothes and declining invitations to family dinners where I could not avoid certain foods without arousing suspicion. Almost simultaneously, Betty began to hint about her boyfriend, Mark. She was convinced that he would soon propose to her. She was constantly sending me links to engagement rings and was already planning the celebration, even though her boyfriend had not yet made any proposal. These are precisely the situations that excite my sister, any event that puts her in the spotlight. Unfortunately, our secret didn't stay hidden for long. One night, Betty arrived unannounced. My husband opened the door for her, and I didn't realize she was there until it was too late. I was at my computer looking at baby clothes when she came in and saw the screen. She immediately made the connection and exclaimed, "You're pregnant!" I couldn't deny it, so I confirmed it. At first, she seemed to be happy for me and even gave me a warm hug. She asked me if our parents knew, and I explained that nobody knew except for her. I asked her to keep it quiet for the time being, and she agreed. A few weeks passed, and then finally came Betty's engagement party. After Mark proposed to her, or she persuaded him, I'm not sure. She and Mark spared no expense. They hired a beautiful banquet hall, had elegant floral arrangements, and a sumptuous champagne table that would have been appropriate for a royal ball. If the engagement celebration was this lavish, I don't want to imagine what the wedding will be like, let alone how much it will cost. Several months pregnant, I was experiencing numerous physical and emotional changes. My energy level was noticeably diminished and my feet had swollen considerably. Finding something flattering to wear seemed like an impossible battle. After multiple attempts, I opted for a flowing dress, supposedly suitable for my condition, although I didn't feel as elegant as I would have liked. By the time I arrived, the celebration was in full swing. For the first hour or so, I did my best to enjoy the moment. I was drinking sparkling water, but no one seemed to notice that I was avoiding alcohol. Then Betty took the microphone. She shared anecdotes about Mark, made some humorous comments about their relationship and similar topics. Then she decided to lighten the mood with a series of jokes. Initially, the humor was inoffensive, tasteful jokes about her mother's concern about the seating arrangements and the like. However, when she addressed me, the jokes took on a less kind tone. Betty made a comment about how I had helped to consume all the party snacks. Later, in a smaller group, Betty returned to the subject. She made a joke about how I was preparing for hibernation due to my rapid weight gain. I apologized as naturally as possible and went to the bathroom. I told myself that I should ignore it, that it had been a momentary lapse and that everyone would soon forget about it. However, fate had other plans. When I returned to the group, another person, clearly influenced by Betty's previous comments, made a joke about my supposed eating disorder. That was the last straw. I then revealed to everyone that I was pregnant. Congratulations immediately began to pour in from all directions. My parents were thrilled, hugging me with tears of joy. Even Mark, Betty's fiancé, came over to shake my hand and express his happiness for us. However, Betty was furious. She pulled me aside and berated me for turning their engagement celebration into an event about me. I explained that I hadn't planned to announce it, but that her repeated comments left me with no choice. She walked away crying, and the rest of the night was a mixture of people congratulating me and others wondering what was wrong with my sister. A couple of days later, I sent Betty a long message explaining that I had no intention of revealing my pregnancy at that time, but that her jokes had become annoying and left me no choice. She didn't reply immediately, but when she did, her anger had increased. She insisted that I could have ignored her comments or waited until after the celebration to announce my pregnancy. From my perspective, she provoked the situation with her inappropriate comments, so I decided not to respond. Our parents intervened, and my mother tried to mediate. She told Betty that her jokes were inappropriate and that I had every right to defend myself. But Betty does not share that view and maintains that I could have tolerated some jokes during her celebration. She now barely speaks to me. She has even hinted that she might exclude me from her wedding, which seems extreme to me, but there is nothing to be done about it. The rest of the family also feels that Betty went too far with her comments, and only a few agree with her. I must admit that they are the ones most similar to Betty in personality. Some of Betty's friends have contacted me privately. They have told me that they consider Betty's behavior during the celebration to be inappropriate and that she has been constantly venting to them ever since. Apparently, she feels insecure because this is her second engagement, and she is afraid that people will not be as enthusiastic as the first time. Her friends are also somewhat exhausted by her constant complaints, as they do not justify her attitude. I did not intend to ruin their engagement. I am not interested in being the center of attention, and I was willing to announce my pregnancy later, following our initial plan. I don't understand why she now regrets having lost the spotlight of their celebration when she herself took it upon herself to direct attention to me and my weight. I simply transformed the attention she had placed on me from shame to pride in my pregnancy. I don't feel I owe her an apology, as she suggests, and practically nobody else thinks it's necessary either. She must learn an important lesson in case she ever celebrates a third engagement. And that lesson is simple. Don't make jokes at other people's expense if you don't want to lose relevance. It's a simple lesson that doesn't require much study. Update 1. 2 days have passed since the incident, and my phone hasn't stopped ringing. Most of the calls and messages have been congratulations on the pregnancy, which is very sweet, but there have also been several people interested in knowing all the juicy details about what happened at the celebration. If I didn't know that I hadn't shared my number here, I would think it was you calling. I have tried to keep my replies as neutral as possible, as I don't want to further intensify the already problematic situation. A simple, "Thank you, we are very excited," and a quick change of subject has been my usual response. Then there is the group of people who just want to relive every detail of the celebration, down to who said what and who was positioned where. I can't share the details with everyone, nor do I want to. I didn't even want to reveal all this information, but now I'm involved in this because of my sister. I could certainly have continued to tolerate her jokes, but how many jokes can one bear? So now I just let it pass with a vague, "It was an exciting night, and I'm focusing on moving forward." It seems like I'm being interviewed after a sports game, but I think it's a neutral response. My parents are doing their best to act as mediators, I understand that. They are caught in a complicated situation, with 2 daughters at odds and both convinced that they have been the injured parties. My mother calls me every day to see how I am, and although I appreciate her effort, I can tell that she is overwhelmed. She keeps saying things like, "You know Betty," as if that justified her behavior. My father, on the other hand, keeps pretty much to himself, but I know he's fed up with the whole situation. He's the kind of person who hates conflict, and this is a conflict in every sense of the word. He's more the kind of person who enjoys the food and drink at celebrations, but not the problems that usually come with them. Then there's my husband. He's been a mixture of support and fun, which explains why I married him. He finds the whole situation completely comical and a little embarrassing. He keeps telling me to stop stressing and to concentrate on my health and the baby, and he's right. But that's easier said than done when your phone keeps filling up with messages like, "Did Betty really say that to you?" And, "Gosh, how are you feeling after all that drama?" Speaking of Betty, she has remained completely silent. She hasn't called me, sent me messages, or even reacted to anything I've posted online. I know she's angry, but if she's waiting for me to apologize, she's going to be frustrated. Yesterday, my aunt called to see how I was, but ended up interrogating me about the celebration. I feel like I was born into a family of gossipers. The irony is that before all this, Betty and I were in a pretty positive place. We weren't extremely close, but we weren't having constant fights either. Update 2. You know what? It's not so bad having a family that's fond of gossip, at least when you're not the center of the conversation. That doesn't stop them from calling you to ask what happened, but I always reply that I don't know the details and that they should contact the person who really knows the full information. This gossip concerns my sister and is not related to me. I am just a faithful follower of family traditions, and I come here to share it. Besides, it's gossip related to my sister's upcoming marriage, so it's somewhat related, in a way, because my post started because of her engagement party. The gossip is that my sister has questionable hygiene habits. I'm not referring to her weight, but to the fact that she likes to live in unhygienic conditions. The engagement party was not only to celebrate the upcoming wedding, but also the beginning of their life together. My sister and her boyfriend are not traditional people who start living together only after marriage, so they started living together shortly before the engagement party. But the information has reached me through a relative who enjoys sharing and calling as many people as possible to talk about these issues. I think he must have a record for the number of people he has contacted to discuss gossip in just 1 hour. If there is one thing that has improved over the years, it is his ability to summarize gossip and speak with extraordinary speed. The truth is that my sister leaves her belongings scattered all over the house and has unhygienic habits, if we look at it objectively. It doesn't surprise me, because I've lived with her for a long time and we've even shared a bathroom. But when you're a teenager, I don't think it's that unusual to be a bit messy. Some of my friends were too. The difference is that, with time, one begins to become responsible, because when you don't have your parents continually picking up after you every day, you end up living in an increasingly messy space. And my sister has not gotten past that stage, something that her fiancé is experiencing firsthand. He says there is used underwear of hers around the house, pizza boxes, underwear inside a pizza box with traces of cheese stuck to it, and even an accumulation of used socks from previous days that, according to her fiancé, she should take care of before they start to take on a life of their own. My sister's opinion is that her fiancé exaggerates because there are only about 15 socks or so. However, her fiancé jokes that he is afraid to go to sleep because he doesn't know if the socks will wake up during the night and attack him in his sleep. And that's just the visible part, because I haven't mentioned the smells. Not just the socks, considering it's summer now. And that shouldn't give off a pleasant aroma if my sister keeps up the same habits of disorder and hygiene. There are also expired products in the refrigerator, such as milk, which can stay there for weeks without her throwing it away. Everyone says that living together can be complicated at times, but my sister is redefining this concept, because soon it won't just be them living in the apartment. She might invite some rodents or insects to move in with her. At least when she lived alone, she had a couple of visitors of this nature. And for the curious who ask what happened to her previous fiancé or husband, this is what I can say. That wedding did take place, but the marriage lasted a year or maybe less. It's not like I had a calendar with my sister's important dates on it. Her ex-husband never revealed the real reason. They both said they had discovered that they no longer loved each other and had decided to divorce. Could my sister's untidiness and lack of hygiene be the reason? It's likely, but at least the people most keen on family gossip haven't found out, and I have no additional information to share with them. Are we close to a third engagement? Update 3. We are heading towards a third engagement for my sister. Her fiancé has canceled the wedding, fortunately well before formal planning began. If there was an opportune time to do it, it was now, because later would have been costly, at least considering the standard set at the engagement celebration. Her fiancé posted a statement on his social media accounts saying that the relationship could not continue because they had different aspirations. I know he has acted in a gentlemanly manner, and he simply wasn't going to mention that he came home to find his fiancé surrounded by rotting food and dirty clothes scattered around the house. But the real reason, the one we all know, is that my sister was planning to adopt a marsupial while her ex-fiancé wanted her to get rid of the sock pile, I continue to keep my distance from my sister, as we have not spoken for a week now. But all these events have at least served to divert attention from me and direct it towards my sister. Now these same relatives are contacting her to ask if the rumors are true and want to know the details. However, so far, my sister has neither confirmed nor denied anything. Everything we know comes from the confidences that her fiancé has shared with someone, and that someone was not a reliable person to keep secrets. I have been asked what my parents think about this, and leaving aside the fact that they already knew about my sister's unhygienic habits, celebrating when she moved out of the house, they haven't said much. My mother thinks she could have made an effort to maintain a more acceptable level of cleanliness, while my father hasn't said anything. Although I sense that he regrets all the food and drink he could have enjoyed at the wedding. And he's not the only one who does, because according to rumors, the celebration promised to include an open bar and refined cuisine. Personally, I'm not worried about that, because as far as I knew, I was still not invited, so none of that was going to change for me. There are aspects that I have refused to share because they are unpleasant to mention here, such as leaving certain feminine hygiene products on the floor, don't make me be explicit. Or, for example, not flushing the toilet after using the bathroom. But I prefer not to go into scatological details, and sure enough, her ex-fiancé found rodents in the house, next to some boxes of Asian food he had ordered and left outside instead of putting them in the fridge. Which reminds me of another incident, and explains why it didn't make sense to do it anyway. This may not be directly related to the mess, but one day it was very hot and they didn't have air conditioning because the remote control was out of batteries and my sister wasn't willing to buy them. So she left the refrigerator open with all the food inside to cool the house. The motor ended up breaking down and the food ended up in the trash. Not on her initiative, of course, but on that of her fiancé. On other matters related to untidiness, my sister fed some pigeons in the neighborhood, either directly or indirectly, because when her fiancé came home one day, a room was invaded by them and they had dirtied the whole space in the characteristic way of birds. So yes, I consider that her fiancé has acted in a gentlemanly manner, because he could have published a statement saying something like, "My fiancé has deplorable hygiene habits and I would rather marry anything else than her." But he has only made the diplomatic publication, as I like to call it. There has been no official statement from my sister, only silence and little else. With the rumors surrounding her, she probably feels comfortable remaining silent. Confirming or denying could be counterproductive at this point, when the official version is more favorable. Update 4. Sorry for not reporting earlier, but I thought the community was only interested in my sister's story, and as nothing relevant happened, I temporarily stopped updating. I have given birth, and my son is now almost 2 years old. In a few weeks, we will be celebrating his birthday with decorations inspired by a new TV show that he is very excited about. But that's not what brings me here. It's something to do with my sister. She is engaged again, and the engagement party is coming up soon. This will be the 3rd engagement party we have been to. But although our relationship has improved over the years, it has not improved enough for me to feel comfortable attending her party. I don't want to be the butt of her jokes, even though I have now returned to my usual weight after my pregnancy, nor do I want to divert attention because it coincides with my son's birthday. She has invited me, but I have politely declined for these reasons. What has surprised me is that she has been offended by my refusal of her invitation. But I definitely do not wish to attend. There has been another wave of family comments where everyone has discussed my absence, but at least I have clarified the reasons. My mother has not insisted that I attend, and understands my decision. I think it will avoid a lot of conflict, and if there are any problems, at least I won't be involved. They know that if anything does come up, I will post again. Now, the sensitive part of the situation is, let's say, the sock pile, my sister's hygiene problem. People wondered why no one had noticed this before. That is to say, she must have always had unhygienic habits. And indeed, we did notice it during the 18 years we lived with her. However, since she became independent, we have never visited her apartment. I think I have been there once or twice, and once was for the housewarming, so to speak, so it was still clean. While she lived alone, she occupied a small apartment where no one visited her because there was literally no space. The housewarming celebration was held with people in the hallway. Generally, she would come to my house or to my parents' house, and there she would display a certain disorder, but only by leaving her coffee cup anywhere. Indeed, I found one in the bathroom and countless cups on the floor that I tripped over and had to replace. And when her first marriage happened, they moved far away. My parents were preparing to visit her when they announced their divorce, and she returned. So we knew about her unhygienic habits, but not to this extent. Now we have confirmed it. They are not just rumors, because she has agreed to participate in a program to address these problems. She has not been hospitalized, but she has been consulting with specialists in these types of disorders. She has been living with her fiancé for some time, so we can say that she has improved. At least enough so that she is not a major inconvenience. The alternative is that her fiancé has similar habits to hers, and they will adopt trash bags as children. The date of my son's birthday is different to that of the engagement. They don't even coincide on the same weekend. There shouldn't be any conflicts. And if problems arise, I feel sorry for my sister. Update 5. There have been no conflicts at the engagement party, although there have been comments. But nothing significant enough to justify going back to share it. What I will tell you today concerns my sister's wedding, which also generates conversation. I did not attend the wedding, maintaining my position regarding the engagement celebration. My sister was not satisfied with that, but from my perspective, she can do what she wants with her belongings. Now let's talk about the wedding. The ceremony was conventional, without excessive luxury or large investments. I don't know her fiancé personally, but according to family comments, his family is not as well off as her ex-fiancé's. Personally, I don't think weddings should be extremely expensive, although my father doesn't share that opinion. Naturally, as long as he doesn't have to pay for it, but I'll address the subject of my father later. The engagement party was also simple, held at my parents' house with a small number of guests. This intensified the conversations among the commentators, which is why there was so much talk about it, although, as I mentioned, nothing remarkable. The comments revolved around the fact that she didn't invite certain relatives, but that was because the wedding would be more intimate. What I consider worth mentioning about the wedding, and it is something that had also been mentioned to me during the engagement celebration, is that her fiancé has an unpleasant aroma. Not only does he give off a smell like a lack of personal hygiene for days, but also his clothes seem not to have been washed for a long time. My sister may be messy and unhygienic, but at least she didn't give off unpleasant smells. But we are talking about love, so my sister has found a person with whom she complements each other perfectly. I'm making an effort to keep my breakfast where it belongs. We could say that they are not soulmates, but a pair of worn socks. But they are a pair of worn socks who love each other, and that is what life is all about. Finding your ideal match. Some prefer that match to be at least clean, but I don't want to appear demanding. I dread visiting her residence after all these anecdotes about her ex-fiancé, especially now that she has found someone similar to her. But my decision to keep my distance from my sister will protect me from that experience. Oh, I almost forgot. My father was not pleased with this wedding. He had been promised a different kind of celebration the last time, and this one did not meet his expectations. If I were my father, I would be grateful that they didn't offer me something from my sister's refrigerator. That would have been a real problem. Addition. My parents have visited my sister and her husband's home, and sure enough, the sock pile has grown. But they don't know if they're all worn, or if it's a big mix of both of their socks. But it's not pretty, even the socks have gotten married.